Hey, Adam,
Yes.
what you know about this?
Oh, that's cool. But what about?
Or what about this?
Oh, okay.
Sounds like some bluesy double stops.
I'm Adam Manis,
And I'm Peter Martin.
and you're listening to the You'll Hear It podcast.
Daily music advice coming at you.
Coming at you today's episode is sponsored by Open Studio. Go to openstudiojazz.com for all your jazz lesson needs.
We're back on the YouTubes. I think that's what's got us nervous today.
I'm fine, man. I don't know what's going on with you. I'm good.
I love when you say we're sponsored by Open. You always look over at the sign,
I know,
like to
like-
see if the name changed.
Yeah,
maybe.
if anybody cares where I'm looking, that's where I'm looking the sign.
Yeah, well, where I'm looking here because I got a camera here. I got a camera
I see
here.
mine right over here.
I
Hey,
got
what's up?
we got Alex over here. Excited to be here.
Yeah.
Can you tell?
Yeah, we are stoked.
Well, so we're talking today about bluesy double stops.
Yeah, well, this is something that we get asked quite a bit about, and
Usually it's like, what the hell is a bluesy double stop?
yeah, it's I don't know, is it something that anybody ever taught you, or there was like
No.
some kind of theory behind?
No, but I definitely heard it and tried to emulate it. I
Yeah.
remember that, like hearing different recordings and be like, wait, how did they do that?
So-
and it was kind of a sound,
So
and,
let's-
and just as a quick disclaimer, I believe we made up this term, right?
Well, you started on violin, and a double
Yes.
stop on the violin
that's
is when you
right,
play
right, right.
two notes at the same time. I
Yep.
think it's a great term.
Yeah.
And so when we say bluesy double stop, a double stop is we're talking about like playing two notes at the same time.
yeah,
But really in that where you're like kind of playing one on top and then the bottom note might be moving. That's
Yep.
usually how it goes. And we have a couple of these that we can demonstrate. And even I think I don't know if there's like a real theory behind this at all, but there's definitely some that work better than others.
yes, right. And I think that the one maybe we could start with is the ones that you were just talking about, where a note stays at least for a period the same on top. So like we're kind of key of F. Wait, are they gonna be able to see the keyboards now?
Yeah, they'll see the light up
Woo!
keyboards.
I'm excited about
Yep.
that. So
Okay, so you're playing, I think, the first one that I remember like kind of picking off the radio when I was a child.
Yeah.
And we're in the key of F and having F on top, and somewhere around the fifth, the flat five, the four,
yeah, kind of just bluesy melodies.
with that F on top, right?
Right. And I think the trick to this, or one approach to it I like, is you don't have to play that top tonic note, the F in this case, with every melody.
No,
in
no.
fact, it kind of works better if you don't. So, like if you think about, you might play. So if that's your kind of primary melody on the bottom.
Yeah.
So I'm playing a lot of them, but not every one. It's funny because I think we've done this a lot, so when you start to think about it, it becomes a little contrived.
It's really something I don't think about very often. It just kind of happens.
Yeah, it's kind of like an accent. If you think about it, that as opposed
Yeah.
to actual, you don't want it as a static thing that you're repeating.
That's
over and
another
over.
good one that you kind of just hinted at with the tonic on top. If we're in F, it's F is like that, where you can kind of go up
Yeah.
from the minor third chromatically. But you don't even have to. Those are all great.
Yeah.
I like this one too, even with the seventh.
Yeah,
Like so, you have E flat and F, like that.
yeah. And then there's
Yeah. So now this is variation number one.
Yep.
With that dominant seventh on top, you can do all the same kind of stuff.
yep.
That especially sounds good. That fifth.
Yep. Yeah, and then what we're combining too, because sometimes like if you take these and you just go, that's fine, but if you like you're combining it with some grace notes, so
Yeah.
some bent tones,
That's the bluesy. quote, unquote.
bluesy, yeah.
Yeah.
We're feeling kind of bluesy today, aren't we?
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
Chipotle
man.
sitting in my tummy's got
I
me.
don't know why
give
you
me
did
the
that.
blues, man.
Another one I like with the seventh on top
Hashtag plant-based.
is like a Herbieism.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Maybe like an F minor.
Yep. Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think you always have the decision once you start moving through the octaves, how long you're going to keep one of your top notes. And really, I think you can tell when you either like say hear a Herbie solo or anybody playing these and then start to put it into your playing, you can sort of tell whether or not the top note becomes the melody or not. There's some kind of gray area, but usually
it's this there for the accent.
yeah, it's
right?
really
Yeah.
just there. But I mean, sometimes if you go and you're moving each one with it,
yeah.
then it sort of becomes the top note, like that you're hearing that. But when that's as soon as you have independence of that, like the movement of the middle or the lower voice and the top note stays the same, it becomes really like almost like an accent, a rhythmic ornamentation to your main bluesy line.
Yeah. Let's keep moving down with this top note. If we go to
Yep.
the sixth here in F, which is D, the one that first comes to mind is probably that, on the ninth there.
Yeah.
One that I remember hearing this and like noting it at this bluesy double stop. There's a guitarist, legendary blues guitarist based here in St. Louis for years and years named Benny Smith. Amazing.
Oh yeah.
And he would do this with the sixth on top, and then he would like pull up to the fifth, which sounded great on guitar. And then I was like, that would sound good on piano. It sounds. So you get that C, D.
Yeah. Oh.
Like he would do stuff like that all the time.
Yep.
That little second crunch is so great.
Yep. Good stuff. Okay, so that's the sixth.
The fifth. There's lots to be done on the fifth.
Yeah, there's lots
too.
to be friends. So this one kind of is almost like maybe like that, like the tonic up its top in terms of.
Yeah, I like this one for like on the third especially.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and what you're doing there is like you're using that grace note again to play around with the major and minor bluesy kind of.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, we'll think of from minor to major, but you can also go major to minor.
Oh yeah.
And it's not usually, that's a different kind of thing.
That's a different thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Monk did this a lot. Thelonious Monk, as in. Really had that great technique of bending the note, and then you can just add that fifth or the octave above it.
I love to bend the note. Okay.
Yeah.
The fourth, I'm just thinking like I wouldn't use it over an F as a, but it's more of a sus thing or a minor thing. Which sounds great if it's a sus.
Yeah.
And then the third, I also probably don't use on top of any blues. I'm trying to think if
Major third?
Major third.
might, yeah.
But the minor third. Oh yeah, yeah, that's right. So these are great. Actually, any kind of shell.
Yeah.
We talk about practicing our voicings in our right hand as well as our left hand. Any shell can be used as a bluesy double stop. I think in the
Absolutely.
intro I did something like
Yeah.
like this G7. And you hear Oscar Peterson do
Yeah.
this all the time. Well, he'll do like a whole blues chorus. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think Oscar was such a master of going to this kind of.
Yeah.
And then
yeah.
throwing them in either at the beginning and or the end of,
Yeah.
and then go single line flurries kind of thing, and then coming back to this very.
So you
effective.
can use those shells like to your advantage in these bluesy double stops. Any
Yeah.
thirds and sevenths.
Yep.
It's really fun to go through those.
Yeah, and in case people miss it, just what you were just talking about, we talk about the shells, which is normally the seventh and the third. There's some other shells, but like certainly over the blues. And we're talking about learning them in both hands so that you can use them, root shell pretty, long, bigger voicings in either hand. Maybe you're walking a bass line, but also for these kind of applications for shapes, they're going to set off your melodic improvisations.
Yeah, and you can actually do this on any like 4-note voicing.
Yep.
Just break it up into some bluesy double stops.
Yep.
The second or the ninth, I would use on like a major 7.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
That kind of sound. But that's
And then
almost
that kind of reminds me when you do it up there, like with the F on the root, sharp, the sixth with the sharp 11.
Yeah. Oh, these are so nice, man.
Yep. Now, would you consider these? I know we're getting a little bit away from bluesy with the sharp 11, but would you? I kind of consider these double stops too. When you go,
Oh, like pentatonic.
yeah, well, pentatonic or not, but just when you're going from single line into a couple of two note.
Yeah, those I consider double stops. I don't know if I'd put them in the same category as like.
Right. Well, that's what I said without the bluesy part.
But I see what you're saying.
Or even if you go like say if we're back over to F blues.
Yeah.
So you could add one in where it's like, whew.
Yeah.
And those are almost like two independent melodic lines a little bit. But then you.
That's so nice. All right, if we're debating what is and isn't a bluesy
well, we made up the
stop,
terms.
I know we can do whatever the hell we want.
want.
But do you consider something like?
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, because it's moving.
Yeah. Well, especially the way that you approached it, because you were like, and so the main melody note is on the bottom. That's kind of what typifies this a lot of times is that, usually the melody and then the accompaniment or the harmony notes are below it. This is traditionally an area where the accompaniment and the rhythmic accentuation is on top.
Yeah. One thing I'm thinking of is instead of like that. For a diminished sound, right?
Yeah.
Which you could use with any kind of flat 9 chord. So if I have G7 here, it's like my 2.
Yep.
We talked about the sort of the shell using F and B.
Shell.
But you could do a diminished, like a B diminished.
Yeah.
And you could either use like D and A flat, but you could also use B and A flat, like the outside notes of that diminished chord, and just fall off it.
Yeah.
That's another awesome thing.
For sure. And you know what this is? Like all this stuff, this is just about like ways for us on the piano or on the keyboard to express interesting, melodic things that really, except for the guitar. And look, a lot of these are kind of taken from guitar riffs.
They're made to sound like guitars for sure.
But I mean, single line instruments can't do. But like a trumpet or a saxophone or a vocal can bend notes in a way. This is almost like a lot of times used as almost like a bending ornamentation.
This is our way to
thing.
bend notes for sure.
Exactly.
I was just thinking like those diminished, like especially that's a little bit of a bendy kind of. And you could do the same thing with like augmented.
Yeah.
Yep. Don't you do that? What is that? That's not really a double stop though.
No, but it's fun.
It has that feel.
Yeah. Now, what about just one last one we could maybe think about? Aren't there times when we'll do like? Well, I'm thinking like
Times when you'll do that.
almost like a funk groove, like almost like a New Orleans funk thing. So it's the double stop is like triplet kind of trip.
Yeah.
Like that's the main melody. Or
yeah, I like that minor third with the 6.
yeah.
And if you're on a minor chord, like C minor, here's what you're playing. Like almost thinking of it like F7 with these bluesy double stops.
Yeah.
For sure, yeah. Yeah, that'll work.
Good.
Yeah, man. We got through it.
We did.
The bluesy double stops.
Bluesy double stops. Done. Go to Open Studio Jazz to learn more about. We don't have a course on bluesy, though. Well, we just laid out a course, but we go in and out of it on a lot of the stuff. Keezer plays some bluesy double stops. I don't know if he calls them that.
We all do. We all do. I don't. Yeah, we should do
it's a part of the jazz piano vernacular.
We need to do a lesson on bluesy double stops on the Jazz Piano Method, which is your weekly course that you have over 700 lessons on. Is it 7 or 800?
No, I think it's like 500.
Is it 5 or 600?
It's like 450.
Is it 3 or 400?
It feels like 700.
Okay,
it's like a 1 hour movie that feels like it's 3 hours.
Let's keep adding to it with more bluesy double stops.
Yeah, and it's available as part of our Piano Access Pass, which has quickly become our most popular membership option.
Yeah, I don't want to say that I called it, but I totally called it.
You did call it. That's right. Well, till tomorrow.
You'll hear it.